Okay, get ready because today we're diving into a research paper with a title that, well, kind of speaks for itself. Pressures produced when penguins poo calculations on avian defecation.
Yeah, you heard that right. We're talking penguin poop.
Yeah,
Now, before anyone asks, yes, this is real scientific research.
it is, and it's fascinating stuff.
It really is. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of penguin bathroom habits, let's bring in our expert to, well, set the scene for us.
Thanks for having me. Always happy to talk penguins.
So I got to ask, when you first heard about this research, what went through your mind? Because I imagine it's not every day you come across a paper about, the physics of penguin poop.
You're not wrong there. It definitely caught my eye. But what's so captivating about this research is that it goes beyond just the inherent humor of the subject. It gets at the very heart of how these creatures function in their environment.
That's a good point. So let's break it down then. Why does penguin poop even matter to scientists? What can we learn from how penguins, well, do their business?
Well, by studying how penguins poop, we can learn about their physiology,
Okay.
their diet, even their evolution. It might seem like a small thing, a little bit of,
Right.
but it's actually a window into their overall biology.
Makes sense. Especially since actually studying penguins in their natural habitat, that can't be easy,
Right.
especially if you're trying to observe.
It's not exactly practical. So, for this study, the researchers focused on two types of penguins in particular, chinstrap and Adelie penguins.
Okay, and what's special about these two?
Well, both chinstrap and Adelie penguins, they breed on land.
Breeding on land. I'm certain to see where this is going with,
Precisely. These penguins don't just fly off to do their business,
Right.
They're nesting, raising their chicks, all within a pretty confined area.
So we've got our penguins, we got this limited amount of space. Set the scene for us. What were the researchers actually observing?
Okay, so picture this. You've got these penguins waddling to the edge of their nests. They turn around and, well, let's just say they documented these penguins, expelling their waste with, shall we say, surprising force.
Surprising force, huh?
Hmm.
I seem to remember the paper mentioning something about 40 centimeters.
Yes!
That's quite a distance.
It is quite a distance, and the researchers took note of these white or pink streaks, radiating out from the nests.
White or pink?
White for a diet of fish, and pink if they've been eating a lot of krill.
So they were really, okay, I have to ask.
Go on.
Did they actually measure these poop streaks? Like with rulers?
They did. They meticulously measured the distance, the spread, all of it.
Wow. Dedication.
And all that data helped them calculate something pretty amazing. The pressure these penguins generate when they do their business.
Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. We're talking penguin poop pressure. So give us the numbers. What are we looking at here?
Hold on to your hats because these penguins can generate between 10 and 60 kPa of pressure.
10 to 60.
10 to 60.
Wow. Okay, and for those of us who aren't physics majors, what does that even mean?
Well, to put that into perspective, that's roughly the same pressure you'd find in a car tire.
These penguins are like, what, tiny feathered pressure washers or something?
It's a really impressive feat of, well, avian engineering, that's for sure. And it all comes down to the physics of projectile motion. Just like a cannon firing a ball, there are certain factors that determine how far and with how much force something can be launched.
So break it down for us. What are those factors when we're talking about penguin, penguin projectiles? What are we talking about here?
Well, you've got distance, of course.
Right. How far can they,
Exactly. Then there's the density of the poop itself.
Okay. Makes sense.
Is it heavier? Is it lighter?
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got viscosity.
Viscosity.
That's the thickness, you see, the gooiness.
Right, right.
How easily does it flow? Think about the difference between, say, honey and water.
Mm.
They're going to behave very differently when you try to pour them.
That's true. That's true. But how do you even begin to measure something like the viscosity of penguin poop?
That is a fantastic question. And that's where the researchers, well, they had to get really creative. They ended up comparing the consistency of penguin poop to substances with, known viscosities,
Okay.
like olive oil,
Olive oil.
glycol, things like that.
That's amazing. Finding everyday analogs for penguin poop. Who knew?
You got to do what you got to do, but that's how they were able to, by factoring in all these different variables, calculate that pretty impressive pressure range that we talked about,
Right.
that 10 to 60 kPa.
Yeah. Yeah. So high pressure, significant distance. We've established that penguins are not messing around.
Yeah.
But the big question is why? Why go through this whole, evolutionary process to develop this, well, powerful pooping mechanism?
Well, researchers believe it boils down to a few key things, and hygiene is a big one.
Hygiene.
Keeping those feathers clean is absolutely crucial for penguins. For one thing, it provides much better insulation against the harsh Antarctic cold.
Right.
But it's also essential for efficient swimming.
Because soggy, poopy feathers, that's not exactly streamlined.
Not ideal. And for birds that rely so heavily on their diving and swimming abilities to survive, keeping those feathers clean is non-negotiable.
So it's like a form of self-maintenance. They're literally pooping their troubles away.
In a way, yes. But it goes beyond just individual health. Think about the nesting environment.
Right.
You've got all these penguins raising their chicks in relatively close proximity.
Yeah.
Keeping that nesting area clean is vital for preventing the spread of disease.
Oh, that makes sense.
And parasites.
That's a community benefit then as well.
Keeps everyone healthy.
Exactly. And remember how we talked about their diet, how it influences the consistency?
Fish versus krill. Exactly. That variation in diet and in turn poop viscosity could actually be another really fascinating piece of this puzzle. Researchers believe that this kind of pressure-adjustable system may allow penguins to fine-tune their, shall we say, output based on what they've been eating.
A pressure-adjustable poop cannon.
Yeah.
The things you learn. Makes you wonder, though, is there any sort of conscious control involved? Like, do penguins choose where they aim?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? This particular study, unfortunately, it doesn't give us a definitive answer. The paper did mention that those, poop streaks, they seem to radiate out in all directions from the nest.
Okay.
So it's really tough to say for sure if it's targeted or more of a spray and pray situation.
So the mystery of the penguin poop aim persists. But even without that definitive answer, this research, it really does raise some interesting questions about just how this behavior evolves in the first place.
Absolutely. And it highlights how much we can learn about the natural world, by looking at even the, shall we say, silliest of subjects.
There's a whole universe hidden within those poop streaks, just waiting to be discovered. We'll delve a little bit deeper into that evolutionary side of things, explore some of those unanswered questions right after we hear from our sponsors. All right, so we're back and, well, we're still talking about penguin poop. Who knew it could be so fascinating?
It really is something else, isn't it?
So we talked about the benefits, right?
Right.
Keeping clean, staying healthy, raising healthy chicks, it all tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But how did this whole thing even evolve in the first place? How do you go from, regular bird pooping to becoming a poop cannon?
Well, you have to think back, way back, thousands of years.
Okay.
Imagine you're a penguin
Okay.
living in this really harsh environment, right? You're competing for resources, you're trying to attract a mate,
Right.
and all the while you're trying to keep those feathers in tip-top shape.
This sounds stressful.
It is.
Yeah.
And in those kinds of conditions, even the slightest advantage can make all the difference. So, let's say a penguin, just by chance, is born with a slightly more powerful digestive system,
Okay.
one that allows it to just expel waste a bit further.
So the penguin that can fling it farther has a better chance of survival.
Exactly. They're going to stay cleaner, which means better insulation, more efficient swimming. They're more likely to, attract a mate, be healthier overall.
Right.
Their chicks are going to benefit from that cleaner nesting environment.
And over time, that ability, that poop-flinging gene that gets passed down becomes more and more pronounced.
It's natural selection in action.
It's like an avian arms race, but with poop.
Something like that, yes. But there's another really interesting thing to consider here.
Okay.
This study, it focused on chinstrap and Adelie penguins,
Right.
both of which, as we said, breed on land. But what about penguins that nest on ice?
Ooh, good point. Would their technique be different?
It would stand to reason that there might be some variation, right? I mean, think about it. The physics of launching, anything on ice versus land, totally different.
Yeah, can you imagine trying to keep your balance on an icy surface while also generating that much force?
Exactly. So maybe they've evolved a totally different strategy.
Ah.
Or maybe their poop has a different consistency that makes it easier to expel in those specific conditions. We just don't know yet.
It's wild, isn't it? Just all these little ways evolution works.
It really is. But that's what's so cool about science. You start with this seemingly silly question about penguin poop, and you end up with this much deeper understanding of evolution adaptation. It's amazing.
It really is. And honestly, we've only scratched the surface of penguin poop research. Who knows what other discoveries are out there just waiting to be uncovered?
Exactly.
Do penguins aim their poop? Is there a particular muscle group responsible for all that pressure? What's the, microbial makeup of penguin poop? I have so many questions.
Me too. But hey, that's science, right? Always more to learn.
Always more to learn. And on that note, I think we've just about reached the end of our deep dive into, well, the surprisingly fascinating world of penguin poop.
It's been a wild ride.
It really has.
Yeah.
A huge thanks to our expert for joining us today and for sharing your wealth of knowledge on the subject.
Happy to be here anytime.
And to you, dear listener, thank you for sending us this paper in the first place. Honestly, one of the most unique research topics we've covered yet.
Definitely memorable.
And hey, if you ever stumble across any other research papers with, shall we say, unusual subject matter, you know where to find us. Until then, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and most importantly, never be afraid to dive deep.